I hadn't touched my husband in 3 months. Not a kiss, not a hug, nothing. Every night, we'd lie in bed with our backs to each other, the distance between us feeling like miles rather than inches. I was convinced our marriage was over, until I discovered what was really happening beneath the surface. Hey there, I'm Dr. Eliza Chen, and what you just heard is from Sarah, one of thousands of clients I've helped reconnect with their partners over my 15 years as a relationship and intimacy coach. If you're struggling with intimacy in your relationship or simply want to deepen your connection, this video will give you the insights and practical tools to transform your relationship, sometimes in as little as a week. Hit that subscribe button and like this video to make sure you don't miss any of my relationship-saving advice. Now, let's dive into Sarah and Michael's story, and I promise, their journey might just change everything for you too. Sarah first came to my office alone. She sat across from me, twisting her wedding ring nervously. At 38, she had been married to Michael for 12 years, and they had 2 children together. From the outside, they had what many would consider a perfect life, successful careers, a beautiful home, healthy kids. But behind closed doors, their marriage was crumbling. "That we used to be so passionate," Sarah confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Now, I can't remember the last time we had sex that didn't feel like an obligation. Sometimes, I wonder if he even finds me attractive anymore." Sarah's story isn't unique. In fact, it represents one of the most common issues I encounter in my practice. Sexual intimacy often begins to fade in long-term relationships, not because couples fall out of love, but because of unaddressed emotional and psychological barriers that gradually build walls between partners. When Michael finally joined our sessions, I could immediately sense the tension between them. They sat at opposite ends of my couch, avoiding eye contact. Michael, a 40-year-old financial analyst, appeared exhausted and defensive. "I love Sarah," he insisted during our first joint session. "But it feels like nothing I do is ever enough. I work 60-hour weeks to provide for our family, and when I come home, I'm too tired to be the romantic husband she wants. And honestly, I don't even know what she wants anymore." As we continued our sessions, deeper issues emerged. Sarah had been harboring resentment over feeling like a single parent while Michael worked long hours. Michael, meanwhile, felt unappreciated for his sacrifices and was battling performance anxiety in the bedroom, something he had been too ashamed to admit. The first time it happened, Michael revealed in our 3rd session, his voice cracking, "I was so stressed about a major client presentation the next day. When Sarah initiated, I just couldn't. I saw the disappointment in her eyes, and it crushed me. After that, I started avoiding intimacy altogether. It was easier than facing potential failure again." Sarah's eyes widened at this confession. "I thought you weren't attracted to me anymore," she said softly. "I've been thinking it was because I gained weight after the kids." This moment of vulnerability marked a turning point in their journey. The real issues had nothing to do with physical attraction or love, they were rooted in miscommunication, unspoken fears, and life stressors that had gradually eroded their connection. Over the next several sessions, we worked through the common psychological barriers that had been suffocating their intimacy. Stress and exhaustion had become constant companions in their busy lives. Michael's high-pressure job and Sarah's demanding role managing their home and children left little energy for connection. They were operating in survival mode, with intimacy becoming another task on an already overwhelming to-do list. Unresolved conflicts had accumulated over years. Small disagreements about parenting styles, financial decisions, and household responsibilities had never been properly addressed, creating a foundation of resentment that poisoned their bedroom. Communication about desires and needs had virtually disappeared. Both had assumptions about what the other wanted but rarely asked directly, leading to missed connections and disappointment. Performance anxiety had created a cycle of avoidance for Michael, while body image issues had made Sarah hesitant to initiate intimacy. The emotional distance had grown so wide that physical intimacy felt awkward and forced when they did attempt it. What many couples don't realize, I explained to them, is that great sex isn't primarily about technique or physical attraction, it's about emotional safety and connection. When we feel emotionally disconnected from our partner, our bodies respond accordingly. Sarah nodded slowly. I never thought about it that way. I've been so focused on the lack of physical intimacy that I didn't see how our emotional connection was broken first. Together, we developed a plan to rebuild their intimacy from the ground up. I emphasized that this wasn't just about improving their sex life, it was about healing their relationship and creating a foundation for lasting connection. The first step was addressing their communication patterns. I taught them how to express needs and desires without blame or criticism. We practiced active listening techniques, where each partner had to repeat back what they heard before responding. I need you to understand that when you come home and immediately go to your phone, I feel invisible, Sarah said during one exercise. Michael took a deep breath before responding. What I hear you saying is that when I don't engage with you after coming home, you feel unimportant and overlooked. Is that right? Sarah nodded, tears forming in her eyes. Yes, exactly. I didn't realize that's how it made you feel, Michael admitted. I've been using my phone as a way to decompress, but I never meant to shut you out. These moments of genuine understanding began to chip away at the walls between them. But rebuilding intimacy required more than just better communication, it needed intentional action. I introduced them to the concept of non-sexual touch as a bridge back to physical intimacy. They committed to daily physical connection without the pressure of sex, holding hands while watching TV, morning hugs that lasted at least 20 seconds, shoulder massages before bed. The first few times felt awkward, Sarah admitted in our 5th session. Like we were following a script. But last night, Michael reached for my hand during dinner, and it felt natural. I realized how much I've missed just being touched by him. Michael nodded. I forgot how good it feels to connect without pressure. It's like we're dating again, discovering each other. As their comfort with physical touch increased, we addressed the specific anxieties that had been blocking their sexual connection. For Michael, we worked on mindfulness techniques to stay present during intimate moments rather than getting caught in performance anxiety. For Sarah, we explored body acceptance practices and ways to communicate her needs more clearly. Sex had become this huge, intimidating thing in our relationship, Michael reflected. Breaking it down into smaller steps made it feel manageable again. 3 months into our work together, Sarah arrived at our session with a different energy. She sat close to Michael on the couch, their shoulders touching. We made love last weekend, she shared, a slight blush coloring her cheeks. And it wasn't perfect, we actually laughed at one point when we bumped heads, but it felt real. Connected. For the first time in years, I felt like we were truly seeing each other. Michael reached for her hand. The difference was that we weren't just going through motions. We were actually present with each other. And honestly, it was better than I remembered, because there was this new level of honesty between us. Their journey wasn't without setbacks. 2 weeks later, they had an intense argument about Michael's work schedule that reopened old wounds. But unlike before, they had tools to address the conflict directly rather than letting it fester and poison their intimacy. We sat down after the kids went to bed, Sarah explained, and actually talked it through. In the past, we would have just given each other the silent treatment for days. By our final session 6 months later, Sarah and Michael had established a new normal in their relationship. They had weekly date nights, daily check-ins about their emotional needs, and had rekindled a sexual connection that both described as more satisfying than even early in their marriage. What we've learned, Michael reflected, is that great sex isn't about performing perfectly or looking perfect. It's about feeling safe enough to be vulnerable with each other. Sarah nodded in agreement. And that vulnerability doesn't just happen. We have to create space for it, prioritize it, even when life gets busy. Their story illustrates what I've seen countless times in my practice. Sexual intimacy problems are rarely just about sex. They're usually symptoms of deeper emotional disconnections that, once addressed, allow couples to rebuild not just their physical relationship but their entire connection. The journey to rekindling intimacy isn't always quick or easy, but it's possible for any couple willing to do the work. Here are the key lessons from Sarah and Michael's story that you can apply to your own relationship. Recognize that sexual disconnection is often a symptom, not the core problem. Look beneath the surface to identify emotional barriers. Create safety for vulnerable conversations. Practice expressing needs without blame and listening without defensiveness. Rebuild physical connection gradually, starting with non-sexual touch to re-establish comfort and trust. Address specific anxieties openly rather than avoiding them. Whether it's performance concerns, body image issues, or past traumas, bringing them into the light reduces their power. Prioritize connection in daily life. Small moments of attention and affection build the foundation for deeper intimacy. Be patient with the process and compassionate with each other. Healing takes time, and setbacks are normal. Remember that great sex in long-term relationships isn't about recapturing the spontaneous passion of new love, it's about creating something deeper and more meaningful through intentional connection. As Sarah told me in our final session, what we have now isn't the same as when we first met, it's better. Because now our intimacy is built on really knowing each other, flaws and all, and choosing to connect anyway. If you're struggling with intimacy in your relationship, know that you're not alone. The patterns that lead to disconnection are incredibly common, but they can be overcome with awareness, communication, and intentional action. Before we wrap up, I want to share one final thought from Michael that I think captures the essence of what rebuilding intimacy is all about. I realize that great sex isn't something you have, it's something you create together, every day, through all the small ways you choose to connect or disconnect. If this video resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more insights on building healthier, more fulfilling relationships. In the comments below, I'd love to hear which part of Sarah and Michael's story felt most relevant to your own experience. Remember, the journey to deeper intimacy begins with a single honest conversation, perhaps even today. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.